So I'm Evan Sturman, CEO of Medical Innovations as of July 2022. The company was founded in 1996 by my father, Howard Sturman, in our living room. Um, I was actually born in 1991, and I guess, in a sense, helped, not really helped with packing boxes. My father, tired of being fired from jobs for selling too well and having accounts being taken into house accounts, decided that he wanted to go out, strike out on his own. He purchased a pallet of product with $5,000 to start up the company. And over time, he sold that pallet to local hospitals. So the business grew and grew until it grew out of my parents' living room. They moved into their first warehouse in the early 2000s. And from there, hired their first employee who is still with us. Uh, the company has grown from one employee, my father, to now 11 employees. Um, I have been tasked with expanding medical innovations further than its current growth, is further than we're currently able to grow. To do that, we are moving from wholesale more into direct to practitioner, utilizing our superior sourcing as well as utilizing alternate brands to save customers money by leveraging our purchasing power. To do that, we find quality brands that are as good as the big brands, put our innovative guarantee on those brands after a thorough vetting process, and offer those to our customers, our practitioners, so that they can have both a physical and performance guarantee on the product they buy.
That's a really good overview. I think that you're doing some really unique things there and trying to hit the market. I actually didn't know that you were 11 employees because you operate like a much bigger organization. As you're going through NetSuite and implementing NetSuite, I vaguely remember a conversation. We've been working together a couple of years now, 2, 3 years maybe.
Mm.
And I remember our first conversation because we were talking about SuiteCommerce and multiple unit of measure. Do you recall this?
Yes. And the reason why we decided to go with SuiteCommerce versus something like Shopify, which is a bit more out of the box, Shopify, you're not able to handle even some measurements. And I did some thorough research into the different platforms, and we ended up going with SuiteCommerce, which was convenient since we were already on NetSuite. The customizability of it is, there's fewer developers out there. Luckily, we found you guys because SuiteCommerce, what's it called? Advanced Customer Service was just not doing. We were paying exorbitant rates for really not very good quality work. Finding you guys was definitely a blessing because, like you said, we are an 11-person company, but we do the business like we're a medium-sized company because of all the automation tools we're able to implement. I mean, our software does the work of about 10 people. It's pretty amazing how much automation we're able to put into our business. I mean, other people in our industry are not very tech savvy. I consider myself tech savvy. I'm not a programmer or developer myself, but I understand enough to understand the limitations, to understand how things work, and to know when to pivot to a different direction if necessary. But definitely utilizing software in general has enabled us to do bigger business than the physical size of the company we are.
I've observed that as well from you too. What you have NetSuite, and we've been supporting kind of NetSuite, SuiteCommerce, just kind of ad hoc throughout. And we also did a unique AI project together. How's the functionality of that concept?
So it's definitely still in alpha testing right now, but I have used it in a live environment and it works pretty well. There's still definitely some improvements that can be done, but it's kind of to be expected of what we're working on. Just the way that we're able to, I guess, the use case scenario of this is very unique for our specific industry, because not too often do you have a industry where you have multiple different manufacturers of effectively the same products. And you have to get customers' descriptions from them because they don't deal in product codes like wholesale. They deal in descriptions. They don't really know what manufacturer, they don't know what SKU. They know it is a XYZ. It's a syringe, 20 cc with or without needle. And so we're able to take that, feed it into this program. And if we have 100 different line items that we need to convert, if it does 80% of the work, that saves us so much time rather than having to bounce between files. On top of that, what we're currently doing is we're adding a data repository of any and all of our vendor data so that when it comes time to quote additional items that might not be already within our system, it's able to pull those items from our system and quote those. And if we don't have a price on it, we can easily quote it so that we can give our sales reps a very simple process to follow to reduce that contact to quote time that customers need, because otherwise, with too much time passing between initial contact to quote, customers can lose interest pretty quickly.
Yeah, time kills deals. And
Exactly.
so really the concept is to take those descriptions and then from there, look into NetSuite, that because it's tied into NetSuite, look at your item records to find the best match based on what they're currently purchasing, the description of what they're currently purchasing, comparing those to find the best match using AI, and then output basically a CSV file that you can leverage and output a quote back to them as fast as possible.
Yes. Unfortunately, it's not as simple as that. There's a lot of nuances and a lot of training data, and over time it gets better and better. But I mean, we're very lucky to have this proprietary software that you built for us. I've mentioned it to several other people in our industry, and they're a little bit jealous, which I'm kind of happy about. I was talking with someone the other day. He said he's a backup of so many files that he needs to convert. And I mean, he's just one person. He can't do it all. With me, I'm able to do 100, a 100 line item file in less than 45 minutes when it could take him literally days. I was looking at one of our bigger competitors and asking my sales rep there, how does he do it? Well, he says he sends it off to a product conversion team. I'm assuming he sends it off to a third party team who converts it manually. I mean, that's fine if you're $1 billion company, but I mean, we're not $1 billion company. We're trying to bat in the big leagues with these guys. What is our one advantage that they don't have? And that is being able to quickly pivot into new technologies. So we can quickly, speedboat around just a large cargo ship is the analogy I like to use. Because if we don't have that advantage on these big $1 billion companies, we have no chance. So when we were looking into our competitor analysis, one of the big things that we really looked at was technology and how these large companies are not utilizing technology and the most recent technology to its fullest capabilities because they are so large and they have such a huge monopoly into the market. They really have no need to change. So with us, the reason why, as an 11-person company, we're able to do business like a 50 or 100-person company is because of our technology.
And I think it's not just that. I think you have a really good brain that is thinking about the creativity. There's not very many people that would know what the technology can do, understand it, wrap their head around the business processes and what's possible. Think of the idea, think of the problem, think of an idea to solve it, and then come to us to say, hey, I have this idea. What do you think it would cost? Or like, what do you have any gut reaction on the level of effort that can gauge the ROI? And that I think is the other secret sauce is being able to accept, make quick decisions, initiate change, adopt the change as fast as possible, and kind of proceed with that new technology. So I think it's been a really fun project. And there's going to be, with any AI, there's training and then there's iterations and what do you want to do next to make the quote even faster? Can it ever get to the point where it's self-service? There's a few layers there, right?
Yes, and we are hoping in the future for it to be self-service. Actually, before the end of the year, we're hoping once our new website goes live, which again, you guys have been working on, that we're able to get the AI product conversion tool self-service and customer facing. So again, that contact to quote time is very important. Customers, they don't want any friction in their purchasing process. And when I was thinking about the design of our purchasing process, I was trying to think about how to reduce that friction. And having to have multiple calls, having to have multiple emails, customers don't need that. They don't want that. They want to be able to contact you and get what they need. If there's any friction, if there's any barriers in that way, it's really going to put a damper on their purchasing experience. And so when I was thinking of this design of our sales process, of which the AI product conversion tool is a part of it, really, it was just how to reduce friction, how to reduce barriers in the purchasing experience, which is one of our value propositions at Medical Innovations. It's to help you just live better, work better. We want to make it so that your day-to-day job is not filled with purchasing tasks. And that's one thing we can offer you, not only saving money, but also by reducing the amount of effort. So you can spend more time doing what they normally do.
That makes a lot of sense. I think it's a huge value proposition to reduce the friction, save their time. I also use that purchasing power to save them money at the same time,
Exactly.
given good pricing. Now, on the AI project, it's tying into NetSuite, maybe in the future tying into your website here. I mean, near future, right? We're March 2025 right now. So on the NetSuite side, you say you have a lot of modules or a lot of functionality that's helping you act as a much bigger team because there's so many automations. Now, there's a couple ways to do that. There's modules. There's the core product of NetSuite, additional modules such as SuiteCommerce, and then there's scripts and workflows and just creating custom automations too. Do you know the different types of NetSuite modules you're using?
The NetSuite modules themselves, pretty much my design of NetSuite is really using NetSuite as the single source of truth, and then being able to plug in any other modules that integrate with NetSuite into it. Since oftentimes what I've discovered is that sometimes the NetSuite provided modules don't really provide everything you need. Hence why with Anchor Group, I've either had custom scripts, workflows, or extensions, or what are they called? Suitelets made. And then with anything else, for example, the CRM, we were not entirely satisfied with NetSuite CRM. So we brought in an outside team to integrate Celigo to Salesforce through Celigo. So pretty much NetSuite is the center, it's the single source of truth. And then we have the shipping module, which is ShipStation, eventually ShipHawk, because we want to go to a warehouse management system in the next few years. We have Salesforce, for example, as the CRM. We are currently using the NetSuite payroll, but eventually in the future, we might bring on a payroll system. It can be difficult working with a multi-billion-dollar multinational company, but the reason why we chose NetSuite over someone else is because Oracle NetSuite has so many integrations and so many people work with it. So that's why we chose NetSuite out of any others, is because everyone integrates with them.
Yeah, I think I also use NetSuite internally, and we obviously have different use cases, and there's so many use cases it applies to. It makes us as consultants to be able to say, yes, I can do that, which is a really great thing to be able to say, because when there's strict limitations, it kind of stinks when we have to say, no, that's not possible. But with NetSuite, it is possible. And I have a very similar philosophy where I evaluate NetSuite modules, see if it's the right fit. There can be strategic reasons why it could be the right fit and could be not the fit. But I also equally evaluate third-party solutions that integrate into NetSuite depending on what the use case is.
Yeah, I agree. Like, for example, one of our biggest issues when it came to accounts receivables was there was a delay between, let's say, getting a payment into the bank and then being entered into our system. It just can lead to late payment, which can really interrupt our cash flow. So we looked at VersaPay, who's associated with NetSuite, and we had them integrated into our NetSuite environment so that the payment link is directly on the invoice. It's hard to say that I didn't see that I could, I didn't know I could pay it, or I couldn't find my checkbook kind of thing, when the option to pay via credit card or ACH is right there on the invoice. And then we had an automation made by Anchor Group to send automatic invoice reminders, which reminds me, after a few months of having that implemented, I need to see how our cash flow is looking based off of how sooner people are paying now. So that's a report that I need to have generated.
Yeah, I think that I actually had a very similar scenario happen where there was when you don't have reminders, people just lose track of things and you run into cash flow issues. So we did a very similar thing where we created a workflow, automatic reminders. We have a click to pay option, very similar to you in our NetSuite environment. We have a different payment processor, but there's a lot of good ones out there. In our case, we don't have the same product need of SuiteCommerce, so we didn't need that. But having that click to pay automatic reminders, about 30% better. It was pretty noticeable difference very quickly. And then there's ways to do it, to send it from a certain email, and so that it can appear to send from one email when it's just automated. Even though that's a good instance though of of where there is a module called a Dunning module that NetSuite sells that does automatic invoice reminders, but most of the time it's not needed. It's mostly just better to just use a workflow. More
Yeah.
customizable, doesn't cost additional licensing, does the trick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you can customize it to however you need. And I mean, just the scripts and workflows and automations has been just a real game changer for us. But when I came on board officially, I worked at the warehouse in high school. I've essentially been working for Medical Innovations my entire life. So I worked in high school, packing boxes in the warehouse. When I went off to college, I did data entry, which is very important to note why when I came on board in 2013, when I graduated college. I graduated on a Wednesday and I got to work on a Monday. So one of my jobs was to enter data from one system to another. And that was because we were using 2 different QuickBooks instances as well as an Access database on site to manage our inventory. And we had to enter data into each system, and it drove me nuts. After 6 months of this, I was like, I'm gonna go crazy if I have to continue doing it. And so I took QuickBooks, and I essentially created one giant Franken file, I call it. But after about 5 years, as I was gearing up to grow, I wanted a solid foundation, and I wanted to set that foundation from the beginning, even if we were spending a little bit more software costs than really needed at a company of our size. Um, so that it's much easier to start with a solid infrastructure and grow than it is to grow and then have to set an infrastructure. Every building needs a good foundation. And NetSuite definitely was our foundation for this. I mean, I'm hoping to grow. I'm hoping to 3 times our revenue in the next 3 to 5 years. I would not be able to do that if I was still on QuickBooks. NetSuite and all its automations and all the workflows and scripts and suite lists and everything and integrations will enable us to 3 times our revenue. When if we attempted to 3x our revenue, we would be bottlenecked by just our software infrastructure.
I face very similar business decisions to you. We're both business leaders in our respective businesses. And
Yeah, and it's just simple reliability. Reliability is very necessary in a customer-facing business. If, for example, you don't send out your invoices for 3 days because the person who was supposed to send out invoices was on vacation, not only are you 3 days behind in your accounts payable, but your customer, let's say they might not know that product is on the way. They might not know that there's product that they will need to pay in 27 days rather than 30. So the reliability is definitely a huge factor when it comes to choosing which automations to do and not to do. There have been many scenarios where I've explored something with one of our teams and decided it just wasn't worth it, or if it was worth it, to put it on a quality of life list when we have additional time or additional money to allocate to it. I mean, we have spent a fair amount of money that many of my competitors would balk at on software expenses. But then just seeing how much further behind they are, it's just kind of just baffling because there's it is capital, right? And then there's human capital. If I wanted to grow to 3x my revenue, I might only need 10 or 12 more employees. When if a different company where they use a lot more human capital, they might need 50 or 60. Sure, it might be cheaper in the short run to not spend, a lot of money into software. But in the long run, you're right. Over 5 years, my ROI on that customization that might have cost me $2,000, it gets bigger and bigger as time goes on. So it's just very interesting. I'm very interested in seeing where we're going to be in the next few years, seeing the ROI on our customization and where we're at. Yeah, it compounds.
yeah, I've noticed the same. When I'm helping people evaluate if NetSuite's the right timing for them, I'm looking at, and they afford the capital expense at their size. Usually less than 5 million in annual revenue, it's like you're probably too early if you're less than 5, or it's going to be like a hard pill to swallow to switch to
Yeah.
an ERP. When you're between 5 to 10, it's still a hard expense to swallow, but you're at that revenue range. This is a generalization, but
Mhm.
you're at that revenue range where it's still a hard pill to swallow, but it's going to be easier because you have a smaller team and less change management. And then when you're in that 10 to 20 million, like you're probably really feeling it, feeling the pain of not having an ERP. And once you hit 20 million, it's going to be much more expensive project, much more change management, because it's not just consultants you're paying, it's all your internal employees that you're trying to retrain them on a new process. And there's cost to business is beyond just paying of some third parties to help implement. And that cost of business grows as you grow too, because there's more people to train, more people to roll out the new processes to.
One of the great things about how I've set up our software is that if I need to open up a new warehouse in a week in Arizona, I can do that. No issue. I mean, obviously, there would be a bit more physical issues with staff and getting a location and a whole bunch of other stuff. But in our software environment, I can set up a new warehouse and have it integrated completely into our system in a week.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. While some other people might be working with multiple different QuickBooks in different environments. I mean, it's also very industry dependent, especially since we deal with physical goods versus someone else who might be doing more service based, like you guys, or someone who might be doing, let's say, staffing, for example, software staffing. A lawyer, for example, they might not need to graduate more than just QuickBooks. They might just need to do payroll, track time, things like that. But with us, especially in the medical field, dealing with compliance, dealing with lot numbers, dealing with making sure that, our own butts are covered if there's a recall, having the ability to track each and every shipment, both coming in and going out. Not only has saved us a lot of time, it saved us a lot of money. For example, we got notice that one of our customers wanted to return a recalled product. They wanted to return 5,000 products of gloves they purchased in 2021. They said, "This is on the recall. We want to send it back to you." I'm like, "Let me take a look at the lot numbers in the recall." I took a look through our records. "We didn't send you these lot numbers. We can't accept this product." Never heard from them again. I mean,
That could have been a huge expense just if you just had to take their word for it.
exactly. But since we track every product coming into us and every product going out, we can know what product is going where. And especially since now we're looking to handle pharmaceutical products, which is a whole nother beast to cover, it's even more important. It's actually illegal not to trap everything coming in and going out. You can get in big trouble for that. We've done it. We've been doing it forever. So it's not an issue for us when we bring in those pharmaceuticals. At the beginning of 2024, we had one license in Maryland. Now we have 14 different licenses with a plan of getting 26 licenses in all the states east of Mississippi, and then eventually west of Mississippi. This is so that we can provide that one-stop shop to all of our customers that they require.
I've done a lot with a lot of serialized items because it's actually a very common SKU in the product space. It's called Advanced Inventory Management, and it comes with a lot of the NetSuite editions. And it allows for serialized and lot items. But in a lot of the manufacturing and food and beverage space and some product space that are using lots and serialized, you're also dealing with certificate of analysis.
It's not even about making sure your own butts are covered, because if something goes wrong catastrophically, you need to be able to say for certainty that you did not contribute to it. Not only from a legal standpoint, but from a morality standpoint. I mean, I would feel terrible if I sent out a product that was tainted. It's just in the medical field, you're dealing with people's lives, and it's just you need to make sure that your customers are safe.
And that when there is a recall, you can actually notify and know who to notify.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that they are aware too, and you can take swift action as soon as you are notified from a manufacturer. This was like a really good breakdown of how you use NetSuite, your philosophy, and thanks for taking some time to go through this with me. I find every time we talk, I have a really enjoyable conversation, and I'm glad we were able to cover just a bunch of miscellaneous topics because I think people will get a lot of value from learning how other people use NetSuite in real life scenarios. People can slowly gather information and change their expectations and their philosophies around technology and how to use it. And I think you bring a lot of insights into the space. So thanks for spending that time.
Well, I'm glad I found you guys.
Yeah, it's been fun working together. So thanks so much, Evan. And I'm I'm excited on this upcoming projects.